To what degree do you think are a publication's political leanings influenced by its editor?
Quite a lot, because they don't have enough money on the whole, political publications. Do you mean generally?
Well, generally, I think newspapers, perhaps.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's slightly
magazines.
different. A number of people went in front of the Leveson inquiry and said very sincerely that their publications were in no way influenced by their proprietor, which seems to me just rubbish. People wouldn't bother to spend all that money on these newspapers unless they could influence them, and I think it's pretty clear that a lot of them do. Smaller publications, the editor has more say, I think, and you tend to get away with more as editor in terms of putting forward your own point of view, if you have one. I mean, lots of them don't.
Is it difficult then to satirise things like whether it's a political party, whether it's a policy that you personally agree with?
I do find the great thing about having a sort of team of people is that I will say things like, I think that's a very good idea, and then someone like Francis Wheen will say, no, it's terrible, and I think we should go for it. And you end up having to take on board other viewpoints, which is very good for you.
So you don't think there's any risk of Private Eye amalgamating stories and it becoming old news?
No, I think there's sort of very... No, I don't think that. I mean, you know, I looked at the last issue and I thought, well, the story about why the expenses... records had been destroyed in Parliament, appeared in the Eye, hasn't appeared anywhere else. Yet again, we get the story about Reckless changing his opinion. It's in the newspapers this week. It was in the Eye 2 weeks ago. I mean, how slow does it have to be for other people to get it?
As somebody who oversees public scrutiny of hundreds of people, does the privacy of your own family ever, does that concern you at all?
Yeah, I mean, what we try and do is deal with the story rather than the individual. And I'm not aware of any privacy complaints our way. I mean, the last one we had was about the privacy of the sort of commercial relationship, which I don't take as being the same thing. So no, I mean, you know, I'm on record as and I've said whenever asked, of course I believe in privacy, and I'm against sort of long lenses and against trespass and against all sorts of things, with the proviso of a public interest defence. So no, I'm not hugely worried by my privacy. I think it certainly in terms of investigative journalism and in terms of being less worried about balance. I mean, there is a slight worry. It says, well, we've always got to be balanced, and I think it was Jeremy Paxman said you don't have to be balanced between truth and lies. That's not really the job. So I think it's at the moment it's in a cautious phase, and I'm all for being less cautious.
But the Beeb could never publish something like Private Eye, though.
I mean, the BBC is not going to be, you know, sort of a major producer of satirical, a major source and a funder of investigative journalism, and it should certainly be doing that. And if you look at Channel 4's dispatches, Panorama at its best, I mean, it can do it.
Would you consider running for any sort of political office?
No, I think I can...
Well, there's a slight there.
No, it's just disbelief at the thought you were serious. No, I think I can be more useful where I am.
Useful as in what sense?
I think I can influence the debate more. I can bring more attention to the facts. I can make more of a contribution sitting at that desk than I would, I don't know, sitting as a backbencher or attempting to do something else. And also I'm free to comment, which is quite useful.
What do you make of the rise of Nigel Farage? Is he a breath of fresh air, or is he just as corrupt as the establishment?
I don't think Farage is very fresh air. I mean, sort of vague fumes of alcohol and fags, and I mean, the trouble about political life at the moment, because people are so fed up with it. So all young people say Russell Brand's really interesting. He's got a lot to say, and all old people say, oh yeah, Nigel Farage is really interesting, got a lot to say, and neither's true. I mean, they're just sort of pointing out obvious sources of dissatisfaction and not presenting any solutions. So you know, I can see what it's about, but I don't think either is particularly helpful. when you get there. So no, I think not voting isn't very useful, and I think voting UKIP isn't very useful either.
Don't you and Private Eye just sneer at the world without offering any solutions?
No, I mean, if you read Private Eye, I mean, you'll find that the whole point of it is to say that is not being done well, or they're crooked, or they're bent, or that's absolutely useless. The obvious solution to any of those things is to not be crooked, not be entirely useful, do it transparently, straightforwardly and honestly, and therefore do it effectively. So, I mean, the point of those sorts of journalistic pieces is usually pretty implicit inside the pieces. And the same with the jokes. I don't think it takes a sort of a huge amount of guesswork to imagine what the point of, say, a particular joke is in terms of how you would like to see it done.
So that healthy scepticism isn't degenerating into cynicism?
No, as I always say, I think sort of if you were merely cynical, it would be much, much more effective just to go and make some knob jokes and make a lot of money, as opposed to attempting to make politics either entertaining or accessible through humour. So, no, I don't think so.
Finally, have your 25 years as editor of Private Eye, have those made the world a better place?
Probably not. But I was always warned in advance that it was partly the effort of doing it that was worth it. Peter Cook once said to me, yes, the important thing to remember is all that fantastic satirical cabaret in Berlin in the 1930s absolutely put a stop to Hitler. Oh no, it didn't. And that was Peter's advice.
Yeah. Ian Hislop, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Cheers. Sir Ian or Lord Hislop?
Yes.
Which one would you prefer?
Both.